Jokic into Paul. Here it goes. Got it. Got it. Denver has won.
So Embiid, he needed just 27 minutes and 3 seconds to get his 50 points. That's the second fewest minutes needed in a 50-point game in the shot clock era. Only Klay Thompson did it faster. And then Nikola Jokic, he recorded his 10th triple-double. That's the 5th straight season he reaches that mark. Only Oscar Robertson has had a longer streak in NBA history. It was just incredible games from those two big men. And Perk, since you're our resident big man, I do want to bring back your big list of big men. You had Jokic as number 1. You had Embiid as number 2. You had Gobert as number 3.
Gobert.
Are you sticking with that?
I'm not. I'm moving Joel Embiid to number 1. Sliding Jokic down to number 2. And I had to think about this. Giannis actually has been playing center this entire season for the Milwaukee Bucks, and shame on me for not recognizing that. He's going at number 3 and booting Rudy up out of there.
What's up, guys, and welcome to Hustle Hoops. This is the home of the Hustle Hoops podcast. And as you can tell by the title, we're talking about the Nikola Jokic versus Joel Embiid conversation. But before I hop into that, I just want to say leave a like, leave a comment. Let me know who you think is better in the comments. Let me hear your take. And also shout out to Maximilian711 for the highlights. So I know this is a conversation that was happening a whole lot last season because it was the year where the first year in 20 years, I think they said, since Shaq, where a center won the MVP award. And that whole year, the MVP debate was between Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. Last year, Joel Embiid had that very hot start. He was killing the league. He was the best player in the league last year at the beginning, but then he goes down with injury. Nikola Jokic is right behind him that whole time. Jokic ends up playing all the games, having an absolute phenomenal year, and ends up winning the MVP award. And so that was the conversation the whole year. It was like, well, we have to see who wins the MVP because whoever won the MVP would get crowned as the best center in the league. So Nikola Jokic wins MVP, and then unanimously everybody says, okay, well, Jokic is the best center in the league, and it was clear cut. Nobody was even questioning who was better anymore after Jokic took home the MVP award. And so coming into this year, it was the same thing. Jokic is the best center in the league. We all understood it. Nobody questioned it, especially because Jokic picked up exactly where he left off last year. Arguably gets better. He gets a little bit better on the defensive end. His field goal percentage is out of this world this year, and he's still averaging his 25, 26. He's still averaging his 13, 14 rebounds. He's still getting his 7, 8 assists a game, still putting up triple doubles, all this stuff. While instead Joel Embiid comes into this season, he's way down. Joel Embiid was not playing like himself at the beginning of the year. He was down to like 23, 24 points per game, and it was just looking very bad. But recently, Joel Embiid, especially in the month of December, he just won Player of the Month in December. He went going absolutely crazy. I think he averaged 29 points in the month of December. His defense is still going to be there. Joel Embiid is obviously still going to be able to score in the paint, in the post. He's probably the best post scorer in the game. He just started absolutely turning up. I don't know what triggered in his mind, but he almost has been scoring 30 points every game. I'm going to just call out some of Joel Embiid's game logs. So I'm going to pull up Joel Embiid's game log and just listen to these stats that Joel Embiid has put up. So we know he just had 50. Then the game before that, he had 32. Before that, 32. Before that, 25. Before that, 31. Before that, 31. Before that, 31. Before that, 31. Before that, 34. Before that, 36. 36. 23. 41. 32. So Joel Embiid in this last couple of games has been scoring 30 points every game just about. You sprinkle in a 40 piece. You sprinkle in the 50 piece 2 days ago. And so Joel Embiid is when you blink twice after this month stretch where he just won Player of the Month, and he's continuing that into January. Now he's the 4th in the league in scoring, averaging 28 points per game. So it's like he went from only averaging 23, and then he just goes on this absolute hot streak, and now he's 4th in scoring, averaging 28. We know he's still giving you a defensive presence when he can average 1.4 blocks. We know that he can still stretch the floor, giving you 37% from 3. We know that he can hit the free throws at 81% from the free throw line. And so now, especially it happened on the same night where both of them have absolute legendary nights, 50 points and then 49 points for Jokic. The conversation is worth having once again. Jokic is not the clear-cut best center in the league anymore because Joel Embiid is right here on his tail. And so we know what Jokic brings. Like I said, we know Jokic is bringing the playmaking. We know Jokic is doing all this, that, and the third. But I don't know. I think it's a conversation worth having. So I want to dissect each section of their game to see who's better at what and to figure out who's the best center in the game. So number one, we know that I think it's fair to say that Joel Embiid is a better scorer. Joel Embiid is just a better scorer. He's a more dominant scorer. Jokic can score, but Jokic just doesn't want to score as much, I feel like. Joel Embiid's best thing is his scoring. He doesn't care about getting his team involved. I want to get my shots. I want to get my buckets. And as you've seen that in the last like 20 games, he's been scoring 30 points every game just because he's a dominant scorer. Joel Embiid just wants to score. He's a better scorer, and he does that. So now we can go to Jokic's side. We know Jokic is a way better passer. Jokic is probably a top 3 passer in the whole NBA. He's the greatest passing center of all time. So Jokic's playmaking is out of this world. And so that's the difference. So Jokic has the playmaking advantage, well and far beyond playmaking advantage, but Joel Embiid has the slight scoring advantage. Rebounding, Jokic averages more boards, but right there, when Joel Embiid wants to clean the glass, he can clean the glass. So I would say that's a wash there. Defensively, you have Jokic has improved on the defensive end this year, but Joel Embiid has always been a better defender than him, making a couple defensive team appearances. So I don't know. I think if you just do the checkbox method, I think it comes out tying, because where Jokic is better in something, Joel Embiid can be better than Jokic in something else. And so I think it kind of, I don't know, it's very close when you try to do it that way, but I think the number one separator between the two is the fact that Jokic is going to play more games. Joel Embiid has proved himself to be unreliable, and that's like a problem. He just you never know with Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid has never played 60 games in an NBA season before, and Jokic is always playing 70, 77, 75, 80 games a year. Jokic just doesn't get hurt. He's an absolute Iron Man, is always available. He played every game last year. He doesn't show any signs of missing 20, 30 games. Like, Jokic just doesn't get hurt. He doesn't miss games. But the opposite is exactly said for Joel Embiid. He's unreliable on the floor. The best ability is availability, and I think that's the main separator between the two. I think I would just more want to have somebody who's going to play every single game. My personal preference, though, I love Joel Embiid's game. I love Joel Embiid. I love watching him hoop. I love his absolute dominance, the flashes. Everybody comparing him to Hakeem Olajuwon. I love his footwork. I love his post game. I love his personality. So I personally, if I had to choose between one of the two on my squad, I think I would take Joel Embiid because I like his power. I like his aura, his vibe. He's going to troll the crowd. He's going to get the crowd hype. He's going to get you a technical foul or something like that. He's going to force the other team to get a technical foul. That's what I mean. And so that's what I like Joel Embiid personally. And I can understand if you say, hey, I want Jokic because I love the playmaking aspect, the point center of Jokic. I don't have to necessarily worry about getting a point guard or a small forward who can play make because my center can play make. So I can just have my guards and my forwards just focus on scoring, getting an absolute bucket. And so Jokic takes pressures off of the team in other ways, and Joel Embiid takes pressure off the team in other ways. And so if you want to go with Jokic, you can take that. But I truly believe I like Joel Embiid's scoring ability. I like scoring. So I like the fact that Joel Embiid can just get buckets at will. He can get bucks, and he has shown flashes of being able to pass out of double teams. Joel Embiid is just not some black hole on offense. I get the ball, I shoot every time. No, if he does get double teamed, he has shown flashes of being able to kick out to an open shooter or so. So that's also not a problem. Both of them can handle the ball exceptionally well. You just saw Joel Embiid just take it coast to coast. Jokic always takes it coast to coast. And so I think it just comes down to personal preference. Right now, I think it's a tie between them two as the best center in the league. We do need to see some more. Maybe Joel Embiid continues this dominant streak, and that'll push him over the hump if he doesn't get hurt. But if you like availability, the fact that Jokic plays every game is always going to be an advantage for him. Myself personally, I'm going with Joel Embiid, man. With all that said, I think Joel Embiid is better than Jokic right now. Like I said, he's my favorite center. I love his scoring ability. And so let me know what you think on the Joel Embiid versus Nikola Jokic thing in the comments. Once again, shout out to Maximilian771 for the highlights. Leave a like. It helps the channel out a lot, and comment down below.